We have someone advocating for unlimited weight, meaning
Dry weight, so you could cure stuff longer and stuff. You know.
Oh.
You
Well,
don't
that
have
should
to,
be
like,
the case.
dump
You talk about a
stuff.
caregiver situation.
Yeah.
So, that was just, I think we've talked about
Dry
even
weight.
about this even on this show before. That was a total misfire in interpretation at a time when all interpretations were designed to be as restrictive as possible. So similar,
talking
similar in the MRTMA for an adult just wants to grow 12 plants at home. That person can keep everything harvested off of those plants. They're not immediately put into
the danger zone.
Yeah, into a bad situation because they happen to have a good harvest and everything worked out well for all the plants that they are allowed to grow. So it should have been a foregone conclusion that you're going to harvest this stuff, and then maybe if anybody's going to make any adjustments, it's more along the lines of make sure you store it in a certain room or under certain conditions or something like that. Well, no, I'm talking about not being over and allowed a limit for possession as a caregiver, because you had a good harvest for all the plants that you're allowed to grow, and then you're suddenly stuck with an amount that is puts you into a legal
under the recreational law.
snafu.
I think that legal conflict to me is
Under
the
the
most
caregiver.
interesting.
But the law doesn't say that. That was just an
We're talking about
interpretation.
caregiving, MMA?
Yes, caregiving. We're talking about caregiving under the MMA.
Okay, you said
You're allowed to grow 60 plants or
Right.
whatever.
But you can only
And,
possess.
but the interpretation is that you
2.5
can only
ounces.
possess 15 ounces, which it doesn't have to be looked at like that. There's nothing that restricts somebody from being able to.
It's a question of whether it's usable at that point, and the only thing a caregiver has is to have it in an unusable state or kind of.
It's a question if it's usable in
Right.
in the real world right now. But the interpretation that you're limited to only being in possession of 15 ounces,
Hold on,
after
though.
the harvest
We weren't
is
asking
the
for the
issue.
amendments to the MMA per se. We're asking about what changes would maybe be made for. Are you saying a change to fix the rec would be to open up the caregiver's possession?
But nobody seems to
drying
care
or-
about a caregiver can drop off more than 15 ounces, right, without any.
Okay, well, let's say it this way.
issue, isn't
Say
that
it this
right?
way. I mean, for the rec,
At
for
the
the rec
processor
law.
or the,
well, listen, it would make sense that they would allow for
Question on that.
for caregivers who were also growing recreational to take some of their supply to recreational. Why not directly to the growers until they get them going, and I don't know, or at least to the. Expand. I don't know. Right, they can't just let people grow illegally. But people can grow 12 plants, right?
Sure.
So it can come from anywhere. Why would that not? Why would that not?
Well,
follow?
just for people who are listening who are wondering what the actual language is, if you Google like Lansing, MRA public hearing February, all it comes up, and you can click on the link. If you want to look up licensees, operations, sampling and testing, infused products. These are all the proposed rule set language, and you can read the actual, because there's, it's one of those things, I think, when people jump into this business or they've been into it a long time and a rule gets put in place and then suddenly you have to follow it. If it doesn't make any sense and it's already in place, I feel like it's a lot harder to undo a rule than to learn about the rule as it's being made, which is just to say, if you're tired of dealing with all that language and wording and everything just to run your business, I think it's still worth it to, and I can feel the frustration of people just not wanting to deal with all the nitty gritty, but to understand this is going to determine if I can transfer this product to that product, or if I can grow this much or that much, or what I'm going to be charged for, and all these kind of things. And you just never know. You have to be careful about every little line of that language. So anyway, that's what I'm saying.